All right, let's get started here. So, welcome to the Badlines podcast, joined with Brian Beaumont, Mai Tai, Modi Racer. Is he Modi Racer on the forum? No.
How many names do you go by? I've lost track at this time.
The good Brian.
The good Brian.
The good Brian.
The good Brian on Instagram.
Yeah.
Scott DeCurtis, who's been a guest here a few times. And so we're here to talk today about our trip that we just did out to Sand Hollow, Utah, over Labor Day. And so before we get into that, let's Mai Tai is pretty much a legend in the DMC group. He's gone from single cab Yodas to now building you stretch the single cab to an extra cab.
Stretched the single cab to an extra cab. I linked it. It's a full cage. It's got a V8. It snowballed. And I cut the front end off and
This is like the third time cutting the front end off?
No. Cut the front end off. I was going to do a long travel 4-wheel drive front end, but plans changed.
But the problem is, like we've talked about in other episodes, it doesn't have enough seats.
It doesn't. It has 3 seats.
3 seats.
Which is great, but I got a family of 5.
Yeah. So then you've got
So I got the brilliant idea to build a rock crawler out of the cheapest vehicle I could find. It'd be nice if it had a V8. So I ended up with a Toyota Sequoia, 2001 Toyota Sequoia, just because it was cheap and it had a V8.
Yeah.
And then threw a set of 1-tons and 40s underneath it, and 5 months in, it still doesn't run.
But you're in it though. I mean, you're like, you've got axles kind of mocked up under it, right?
Yeah,
and you're kind of.
I built a subframe for the middle part. The front axle is basically hung. I got to do a panner bar. I finished up the steering this week. The rear end, just getting the links kind of sorted today, figuring out up travel and all that.
Oh, that's not that bad. That's a short.
How do you? What I always wonder about your builds, and I mean anybody that's like doing these wazoo builds, like how do you have time? You just do it?
So I get every other Friday off, which is nice.
Yeah.
So the kids are at school. I'm in the garage working or whatever.
Sure.
And then I can't sit still. I don't watch TV. I'm not sitting on YouTube watching podcasts.
Yeah, you don't watch. Smart.
So no, the kids are just they're in school now. They're doing homework and they're busy till just about bedtime. So.
Sure.
I mean, they're older now too, right? So they kind of take care of themselves, right?
Like 5th grade.
Yeah,
so they'll be out playing with me. They'll go for a bike ride with some.
And you rope them into some. You kind of help. They help you out.
I do. So my older ones, he's started high school. He's about adult size, so all the heavy lifting he's in for.
Right.
Sweet. Yeah.
The middle one just likes tinkering, likes planning all this stuff out.
Yeah.
He'll be sitting there. What are you doing, Dad? Why are you doing that? Can you tell me why?
That's cool.
That's awesome, man.
Good stuff.
Yeah, so getting them in the mix, and so how much longer you think you'll have until that thing's running, driving? Like,
well, my goal was Sand Hollow.
Mm-hmm. That's all right. That's why we're talking about it.
Right. Yeah. Hey.
This is the recap of that. So I didn't really work out.
But you still went.
I still win. Stupid Jeep.
Yeah.
Works. I don't know.
Okay.
Probably not Halloween. That's 1 month away. Maybe Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Probably New Year's to be realistic.
Yeah, but
I feel
like
Thanksgiving is like you could cram to like get it out there for Thanksgiving.
I could, but I was sitting under there.
It's a lot of work. But
yeah. I got the axle on links set up. I got 9 inches of up travel. If I don't cut any holes in the floor or don't,
that's pretty good.
That's not
for a crawler. I mean, that's not bad.
I don't know. I never built a crawler.
I mean, I don't know. Like, obviously, right. What crawlers always go for like down travel, right? It's kind of the opposite of what we all grew up used to, right? But I feel like, I mean, so what are you running, like 16-inch shocks though, right?
14s.
14s? I mean, you're right in the middle, right?
I'll get like 20. I've built a trailing arm. I'll get like 20 inches of travel.
Well, no. But I'm talking about like your shock travel or whatever.
But then I turn around and my truck's got 14 inches of up travel. It's like, that kind of works.
Yeah.
Do I go that way or?
But that's high speed stuff. That's like pre-landing, pre-landing stuff.
Yeah. I got an 800-pound axle under the front of this thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how fast it's gonna go.
But then I don't know. I don't know what Bruce's travel numbers are, but you look at how good that thing works with a solid axle, and you're like, dang.
Yeah, he's also got 8,000 pounds. That thing is. So he's got a lot of more weight pushing it down.
Sure.
So when he hits a bump, that axle's not really going.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, so anyways, you're building that. The thing's pretty rad. That'll be a whole episode in itself with going through all the stuff you've done to it. It's pretty cool. You've got the thread on the forum.
Yeah, the thread on the forum. I'm trying to post pictures as often as you allow me to.
Yeah. I know, it's been so I don't know what happened, but like with the newer phones, the file size is gigantic.
Dude, I got a 5-year-old phone.
Okay, so that's not the problem on there.
Not the problem.
I don't know what
it worked
setting.
Beginning of the week. I tried yesterday and it wouldn't
I thought I showed
work.
you how to anyway. I thought I showed you how to reduce the photo size.
No, you probably should tell me.
The problem is so
I remember showing somebody,
I built
yeah,
this
yeah.
form, I don't
we
know what I have
appreciate it.
no idea what I'm doing. So there's that. So
Trial by error,
So
right?
when you're
Yeah,
like this,
right.
I'm like, fuck, I don't know, dude. I gotta figure this out. I have no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, I'll figure it out. I'll sort it. But so back to the Sand Hollow trip. So the year prior, Labor Day, we did the Cinders trip, and that was like the actual first form trip. And so Ryan Podell, who lives in Flagstaff, was obviously partial to doing Flagstaff again. And we were kind of like, I was like, no, let's go somewhere new. And so I think you threw out the idea of Sand Hollow, and I was like, so let's go to Sand Hollow, not knowing anything about Utah, not really thinking about it being in the dead of summer. I mean, I don't know if that's the dead of summer, but it's still hot.
I believe that was the peak heat of the summer.
And so it was like, I picked Sand Hollow, and I'm stubborn, and I was like, no, we're sticking to it, we're not changing. And then as I'm looking at the almanac of weather, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a hot one. And so we shifted gears to, rather than camping, which you're upset about because you wanted to camp.
Well,
Not
so no,
upset
let's.
that.
So we I think we all had that mindset, right? We were going to get a group camp. We were going to end up on the lake, right, somewhere in the park there. We were all going to bring the trailers. We're going to bring the families. We were all gearing up to be running generators the whole time, running the AC units, right?
Yeah.
But have sand in our backyard.
Yeah, and let's be on the lake,
run.
But then, I think the old man on my left shoulder started talking like, an Airbnb sounds kind of good, right?
So I provided a dissenting voice. Just in case anybody wanted to jump in there. Turns out nobody wanted to jump in, so I said, you know what, that's fine.
What was funny too is Scott booked the group site.
I totally
don't know if
did.
We told you that, but
No,
We decided, yeah.
I was not upset. I had to book another site the day before because I was planning on getting up there on like Wednesday. And so I was like, oh, you got to do it one day earlier. So I was looking around trying to figure out where to get up a day early, but all that fell apart.
But so we ended up doing the Airbnb thing, and it was for the temperature that it was. I think what was like 90s. I don't know. I don't know if it
Well,
was.
they hit 100 one day, I think.
It was hot,
Probably.
and with the kids, it just the open air. You had AC in your Jeep.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah, we didn't have that. I had the half doors on, the top off.
We'll get to that in a little bit. Yeah.
I don't know why you'd off-road without AC.
Yeah. So, but so we had the trip planned, and it wasn't. I don't know if it was just it wasn't. I mean, I guess our form is kind of more of the pre-runner guys, and Sand Hollow. I mean, I didn't really see a ton of stuff available for the pre-runner scene there, so I don't know if that's why we didn't get it.
That would have been bad. We would have been chasing Scotty around, pulling him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he would have been getting stuck.
Oh,
all the
yeah.
time.
Brutal.
But yeah. So we planned the trip. This guy, after the Rubicon, Scott was like, I gotta get a truck, and so he's on Facebook Marketplace.
Well, I've been sending you like Facebook Marketplace links for like a year now, trying to like, I should go get this one, but nothing really like pushing me, right?
Yeah.
And then I think after I drove your truck for the day on the Rubicon when we did it, it was like, yeah, this is happening now, right?
Did you almost roll it on the Rubicon?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That
So
drove you to want one.
that was like, I gotta do this. I gotta get one. Yeah.
But yeah, so you find this truck, and it was.
Yeah, so I found the truck, and it was like I found a 86. There was an 86 4Runner and an 85 4Runner in Henderson, and I was like, well, I'm going that way. I'll buy it on the way out. But I had seen this 86 that I ended up buying like months before and been randomly talking to the dude about it, like back and forth. And then I was like set to get the one in Henderson, But then I like this one I bought had a little bit more. Like I had the doublers in it. It had a little bit more to it, right? A little bit better bones. And I was like, I hit the dude. I was like, hey, would you take this? Like basically lowballing the shit out of him, right? You know, but we came to an agreement, and he's like, I'll deliver it on Monday. I'm like, I'm going out of town for work. I leave on Thursday. Like I can't go pick it up. He's like, I'll come deliver it right now. I was like, sold.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, how could you say no, right?
Yeah. So pick this thing up, yeah. And then like I was like, well, how am I going to get out there, right? I was like, I don't really have my trailer set up to deal with it yet. I don't want to tow the trailer out there for staying in the Airbnb. I was like, well, shit, I guess I'm buying this 1986 4Runner with 250 some odd thousand miles on it, and I'm gonna bomb it in 100-degree weather out through Vegas.
Yeah, no AC.
I was like, I'm gonna send it and see what happens, right?
Yeah.
So no, that was yeah. You know, headed. That was. I'm pretty sure I got stuck on the side of the road going up the Baker grade. I had to let it cool off, like the full shebang.
Because it had the electric fan.
Yeah, it had this older electric fan on it, which, I mean, it's fine when it's not 110 degrees out and you're trying to climb a hill for an hour, right? It's like,
don't mess with Toyota design.
yeah, so, I mean, obviously, you know, we get into it, but it was just like, you know, wrenched on it a little bit while we were in Utah. Got, you know, putting a mechanical fan back on it, and it was doing better already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, that was a mission, and so we had a total like mixed bag of trucks. So you had your Jeep, which is
It's like a early 2000s WJ.
the Grand Cherokee though.
Grand Cherokee, yeah. Long travel on 33s.
Leather.
Yeah,
leather.
Oh,
leather,
leather,
seats.
AC,
AC,
power windows.
ice cold, right? Blows ice cold.
We'll say yes.
And then this guy's new to him, 4Runner, 35s, dual cases, locker in the rear.
Locker in the rear. Yeah.
And then we had Ryan Podell. He's got the orange Tacoma that's pretty built up, long travel, lockers. Metro had it. Is it a CJ5, 7?
5.
Green Jeep.
I think it's a 5. It's
A
a
5?
it's a later model, isn't the 5 the early, like the older models? Anyways.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
so
but unfortunately, he couldn't bring his new Bronco.
Yeah,
He had just finished, so
he
it
had
was-
some tranny issues that hopefully get sorted out soon. But yeah, that and so then we had
Who else do we
his Brian's cousin Chris was in his another 4Runner, first gen 4Runner that was on 31s but had long travel.
Yeah, total chaos kit, ball joint kit on the front, 63,
31-inch, like,
64s
street
in the back
tires.
or something. Yeah, 31. Yeah, it was. Dude, the thing went everywhere we went.
Yeah,
like
sure did.
That's pretty cool.
And then my 4Runner, 37s lockers, dual cases. Who else was with us at the Airbnb?
Billy showed up for half a day.
Yeah, Billy showed up, had some steering
Billy
issues.
did his
That was-
typical show up for a night.
he had to go.
Stevie showed up. With
Yeah,
the Bronco.
Stevie
that's
had the
right.
Bronco.
Stevie
Yeah,
had the
that's right.
Bronco.
Yeah, brought his daughter out. That was cool.
And then who else we had?
Well, Chuck, right?
Well,
so yeah,
but who else was staying at the Airbnb with
That was
us?
it.
I think that's it.
that might have been it. Yeah.
But yeah, and then so Chuck Converse on Instagram, he knew Ryan. I don't know if it was through Milestar or
When he used to work for Milestar, I think.
got
I kinda
it.
knew
So
each other,
so Ryan reached out to him, and it was perfect because he lives there, and he ended up being basically our
Tour
trail
guide, almost
trail
guide,
boss.
yeah, it was great.
And so the first day was it. We all got out the Thursday, I think it was. Thursday.
We drove out Thursday, so
Drove
the
out
first
Thursday.
wheeling day I think was Friday.
Friday,
Yeah.
And we did the first show was Milt's,
Yeah, we went
Milt's
straight
Mile.
into Sand Hollow, and I think Padel basically took us through Milt's Mile.
Yeah, he took us to the
Which was,
hardest-
I think which was like, apparently we like veered off the trail or something and ended up being one of the hardest trails or one, or like a
The
bit
hardest
more
trail
than we wanted to do.
we did all
you know?
weekend was on the very first
Yeah.
day with Ryan saying, I have no idea where we're at.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we're going this way.
We were all just stoked. I mean,
Yeah, it
the
was a
like
blast.
just the scenery of Utah and the Red Rock and the
Yeah.
trail and just like it's nothing we ever done before. I think we were all
Sure.
pretty stoked.
Yeah,
you know? It was-
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, I was learning to drive that Jeep.
Yeah.
Stupid Jeep. I bought it 3 years ago. We drove, we did kind of the southern Utah national parks, Zion, Bryce.
I remember that.
Over
I
to
remember when you did
Moab.
that.
And I was like, I got to plateau something to get into the parks. might as well be 4-wheel drive to get into Moab.
Yeah.
Then we drove through Hurricane. I was like, all right, we gotta be back. We're coming back. It took 3 years. We got back.
3
there.
years in the summer.
Yeah.
Came back.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That was a good time.
Yeah. But so we also had Bucci in the white.
Oh, that's right. The white Tacoma. Yeah, long travel Tacoma,
Mikey,
4-wheel drive. Yeah,
Mikey built not too long ago, Fab Lab.
Yeah.
And so
Nice truck. Yeah.
So the first day that we ran the trail on Friday, we do Milts Mile, and it's again total mixed bag of trucks. You know, you've got 37s to 31s,
yeah.
which I'm just gonna say MVP of the weekend was definitely that thing. Like that, I don't know.
Sure.
I mean, open diffs.
Yeah.
No dual cases on 31s, and we're cruising through like that river.
Well, when you have long travel front rear, you just ram through it, right? Just go for it, right?
Yeah, for
He
sure.
did have to get winched off of a rock in the lake.
Did he?
Or in the river, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I came up to him, the red Jeep buddy. He had him hooked onto a winch and pulling him off.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Kind of high centers.
Yeah. But so Milts Mile, we cruised through it. I mean, it has like a couple pretty good ledges that you go up, and Sand Hollow, it's like rocky, but it's everything's sand all around the rocks. And Chuck was actually telling me that the reservoir, like the Sand Hollow Reservoir, man-made reservoir, it's fairly new. I want to say like 2012 or I want to say maybe 2010. But he was saying that basically the sand, you know, naturally is obviously blowing, and it would blow and then it would blow back. Well, now it's all just blowing into the lake. So the trails are that mountain that's all covered in sand where the dunes are is actually just like kind of blowing into the lake. So it's like kind of changing. And so that's probably part of the reason why we had such an issue finding our way, because the trail is, you know, you're obviously you could tell like, oh, there's a feature where you could notice tire marks, but once it's sandy, you're like, I don't know where to go.
Well, I was real surprised how many different lines were through there.
Yeah.
When we were getting kind of, you guys were getting hung up on one line, and Metro was over here and had his issue, and it was like, oh, I got to run up there, and it was 4 or 5 different lines to take up and around.
Yeah.
And then I think Bucci actually went up with another one.
Yeah.
It was amazing how many different lines if you actually look for it. It's an open riding area. There's not like a stay on marked trails nor that.
Exactly. And Chuck was telling me that they're trying to kind of like nail in the trails so that when it becomes kind of more a stay on the trail situation, they have as many trails as possible.
Yeah, I can see that.
So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, so at that point where we go up, and I think the stock, Chris and the stock 4Runner, not stock, but on 31s, he kind of went around, and Ryan goes up, you know, a pretty good section, and then Metro tries that section. He can't make it up, backs down, and is like, no, I'm going to go to the right. He ends up flopping it with, you know, full family. He's got, you know, a 9-year-old and
it was crazy because it was
and,
kind of like riding this crevice, and then literally it was looking great until it was like, boom, not doing
just
good.
A little tire in the air, and then
Suck the tire down.
and then the Grand Cherokee to the rescue. And he didn't.
Well, we were all just sitting in our cars, like watching him, like, oh, this is a great show. And then it was like, oh wait, he needs our help.
Yeah.
Like, we need
we got the call on the radio, like, get a strap, and I'm like, oh.
Oh, his poor son just saw the dirt come straight at him. And
they were definitely a little shell shocked.
A little bit.
But so we got him all situated, and that's the second time that I've been on a trail where that thing's flopped on its side. And it had like just a little mark on the plastic fender. I'm like, how do you like basically roll the truck and that's it?
That's what Jeeps are good for.
I guess, yeah.
I gotta aspire to that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
the wheelbase on that thing is a little tricky, I think. Yeah.
Sure. Well, yeah, and that's...
Metro would be the first one to say.
Well, and that's the thing with Sand Hollow. It's so much like, you know, vertical climbs or like going up ledges and stuff. So short wheelbase, you're really kind of struggling.
Yeah.
So you'll be good in your long...
126-inch wheelbase.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yes.
All right. Should be good.
Just a few extra inches, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so after that, we finished up, basically got to the dunes, and the kids were all kind of at a boiling point. It's like it's 90 something.
Yeah, it was heating up. We would try and get out early in the morning, right, to beat the heat.
Yeah.
But now it's probably like noon, 1 o'clock or something
like that. So then we cruised to the lake, hang out there, and that was where, right before, kind of at the end of the trail, we met up with Chuck, and then he led us down to the lake. And it's kind of weird, like the off-road area. You go, is that a highway or just a road?
I think it's technically a highway. It was like Highway 9 or something, or 7 or 9.
They put that tunnel in there for the OHV area.
Yeah, so you literally cruise through a little tunnel to get to the the lake or come to the OHV area. But so we hung out there, and then I think after that we just ended up retreating back. I don't know if you went wheeling anymore or you went back to the Airbnb.
We took off kind of.
You had to
north.
go you had to go pull your
my
dad out or your father-in-law or something.
They were up in Idaho visiting family. They came down and he kind of pulled off the road just a little bit and sunk to the frame.
Oh,
it was soft.
In a truck or
two-wheel truck? Yeah. So it was an easy tug. I was on the asphalt.
Yeah,
pulled him right out.
Sure.
But yeah, no, we went back in and we took a left and we kind of went up to the north side there and just kind of poked around some trails.
Sure. This is that AC though. You were like primed.
Great.
You're like, you guys want to quit already?
So
and I'm
jealous.
like, I'm panting.
It was great. It was weird though because all the trails there are sand.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'll take that dirt road up. No, it's all sand and just sitting there powering down. It's like, man, this thing. Luckily, that Jeep works well. It'll power down. It didn't start hopping or anything. It's got the V8 in it.
Sure.
But it
goes pretty good.
Yeah, it was a lot of sandy hill climbs.
Sure. And then so we the bulk of the group ended up just going back to the Airbnb, and then so the next day, so Ryan was like, I'm relinquishing the trail duties. I don't know what I'm doing. And so Chuck, who lives there, we're like, all right, you lead. And he's like, all right, cool. I got a cool trail for you. Goes through Rattlesnake Gulch.
Rattlesnake Gulch or Canyon or something, up to Tokerville Falls, I think.
Yeah. And so he was kind of explaining to us that you kind of start on the top of a bluff and you drop down into a canyon and you're like in and out of the river for, I don't know how long the trail was, but...
I mean... I'm having a hard time learning how to gauge the distance of trails with the crawling because you literally go like 2 miles and a half a day. Like,
sure.
It's
like
kind of a different...
miles.
It's like... So, I don't think it was actually that long, but it was pretty damn rad.
Yeah.
Going up that canyon in the river, basically, right?
And and so before, like at the house... We had a little Forerunner like work party where Chris is. I think he had a leaking. Wasn't it a rear brake drum?
Gosh darn it.
Not caliper.
Not the caliper.
The shoe.
Cylinder.
The rear brake shoe.
Cylinder.
Yeah.
The cylinder. Yeah.
So he's changing that out in the morning. You're changing out your fan.
I'm tearing the fan out, putting a mechanical fan in. I'm trying to deal with my shocks because they're completely blown. Actually, I don't even have shocks, but they look like shocks.
You should have just pulled them.
So I was doing a bunch of stuff, scrambling the whole weekend.
AC working.
Yeah, I tried to go for the AC because it was all there and it took a charge, but I couldn't get the clutch to engage. And now I know after taking apart the clutch, it was completely disintegrated inside. So.
It was a valiant effort, though.
Yeah, it was a valiant effort. But yeah, so what? We did a full prep session.
Yeah.
Right? In the driveway in the garage.
I got like a little video of all the Forerunners getting worked on, and then this guy pulls in his Jeep. He's using the jack. And see, I was like, dude, this is why the Airbnb is great. Like, you wanted to camp. You got a garage. We got, the floor jack.
It was nice
tools.
to be on the concrete, smooth concrete, working on the vehicle.
And then so as we're trying to button everything up, like the girls are inside making sandwiches and trying to get the kids together, and just trucks start rolling up, and we've got like Chuck's got a pretty sweet Jeep on 40s.
40, at least 40s. It may have been 42s.
And then his buddy, I want to say Carlos.
What was that?
Had another red Jeep.
International or what was that? Willie's.
That was cool. And that was on the Ultimate Adventure, which is kind of rad.
That was a neat build. It's on a TJ frame.
Super
like all
cool
bolt-on components on a TJ on 40s, and it just looks awesome.
Yeah,
that was pretty rad.
For sure.
The interior was all nice and clean. Nice couple too.
Totally. I think I want to say Pat and Sherry. I followed them on Instagram, so I think it's like off pavement, something pavement. Anyways, but yeah, so we kind of all loaded up. We tried to make it.
Well, then we had the Toyota garage show guys show up.
Oh yeah. The
right?
Toyota podcast garage podcast.
Yeah.
Riley in the
4Runner.
Yeah, the 4Runner.
Third gen 4Runner. Second gen.
Third gen.
Third gen. Sorry.
I know my third gen.
I only know about the best gen. The first gen. But yeah, so we took off from there, and then
We had the red Jeep.
Dude, we had a ton.
Yeah,
I felt like when we hit
Carlos.
the trail, I mean, basically when we hit the gas station of the trail, I swear we had like 20, 25
and Billy,
vehicles.
and Billy.
Yeah. We had a lot of
Was the Motobill Jeep on that one, or is he on the next one?
No, he was on that too. The Moto
great
build. Yeah, so we probably had, what was it, 15, 10?
I feel like it was
12?
it was a lot.
And so we hit the Maverick right out of Sand Hollow, climb up that little grade, and then we drop down onto the Rattlesnake Gulch.
Yeah.
And that was steep going down that. And Chris was stoked he fixed his brakes.
Yeah. Riding the e-brake.
That was like so in the 4Runner I'm like cruising down and I was like, oh, this is a chill little fire road, and I just had it in stock low, I didn't have it like in the rear case. And I'm like, dude, this is steep.
Not only was it steep, there was one corner where it slanted
Oh,
real
yeah.
bad.
Yeah,
And you were kind of
yeah.
going around the outside, but it was super
Yeah.
steep, so you're sliding sideways and downhill at the same time.
Totally. My kids are like wigging out, and that was fun. And then we get down to the canyon, and the whole idea with doing that trail was it's hot and you're kind of in the trees a little bit, and I mean that's like the
down
only
in the canyon and the river. Yeah.
only area that's got trees around there. But yeah, you're literally, he told us, he's like, you drive through the river, and I'm thinking like, oh, water crossings, like you go to Miller, you go to Big Bear, and you just kind of dink. You're literally driving down the creek for what, eighth of a mile in a couple
half of the
spots.
trail was just through the
I would
river,
say it was
back
a
and
good
forth.
distance.
Wouldn't have been so bad except for the marble or the boulders.
Yeah.
And you can't see them,
see
right?
'em,
You're just
no.
like, hey, you're driving by Braille.
I was following Bucci, and man, that guy, he would get high sound. He had leaf springs, big old leaf springs, under axles,
Yeah.
spring under axle with like the typical Tacoma
big hangers,
which I don't know
drop
what gen
hangers.
it's called. Yeah, drop hangers in the back. So he's just scraping everything.
Yeah, just dragging knuckles over.
And then an A-arm here, and then a front skid plate.
But I think he's on 35s. I don't think he's
At least.
37.
Yeah.
Let's just take a knee right now and think about our boy on 31s driving through that same creek. But I'm watching this guy. He's in front of me on 35s, and I'm watching him get hung up, and then he makes it through, and I just drive right through it on 37s.
Oh, man.
And then I'm like,
must be nice.
poor
Yeah,
Chris.
it must be nice.
I was on 33s.
Yeah, so you're
I
just
would
like,
hear the
"Think."
rock hit the front diff, hit the center cross member, hit the rear, and just hope that I make it over all three of them.
Yeah, I honestly don't think I've ever done a trail where you're literally you're just like, I don't know what's happening under the water.
No
I can't
idea.
see anything.
You just kind of ease into it, kind of feel for it, just stay steady on the gas.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you hit something hard, you back up.
Yeah.
Just go over a little bit.
Just try not to diff it out too bad and hope for the
So
best.
what? We make it up the river all the
No,
way
we didn't
to.
make it up the river. We made it halfway up the river, and a Bronco just died.
Oh yeah, no. But he got stuck. Wally got
Jesus,
stuck
that's
first.
Right. He
Did
got
he get
stuck
stuck
first.
first?
That's
Okay,
right.
yeah.
He high centered on that
On
rock.
that rock.
He dipped out
So
on a
there
rock.
was, yeah,
right?
that was. We were going through the river, the big rocks everywhere, and a little hill climb right there. And I was having trouble finding a line through there. It took me a couple times to find the line because I was just dragging on everything. 'Cause they're big boulders.
Yeah.
He was out videoing something, so he didn't realize he was behind me. He comes around and just goes kunk right into it.
Yeah.
Pulls up and goes kunk, and just right in the middle of it. And so he's just sitting there and just pivoting around it. And
It took us a bit to get him off of it.
Yeah, I didn't know. It's like, well, you're right in the middle. Like,
Did you even come over there?
Well, so we were like over the little crest,
Yeah.
kind of. We crossed the other part of the river because it was like a bend, right?
Yeah, I
and
came
I
over.
walked back because
Okay.
I was like, "What the heck is going on
Yeah.
here?" Like,
You just hear like a V8 and you're like,
Yeah.
what's
Like,
happening?
dude.
Kunk, nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, so we had to strap him up.
It took us a
pull him
little
up and
bit
over
to just pull him forward off.
Yeah.
of it.
Grand Cherokee again to the rescue.
Yeah. And then around the corner, a couple corners later, it just dies.
Yeah, that was weird. And it was the wiring harness was rubbing on the shock
popped
tower.
The hood and he's like, "Oh, it's been doing this to me." Like, great, thanks, Steve.
Typical Stevie. That's good. It turned on this time.
Yeah, and then it was. Yeah, just like, why are these wires rubbing here?
Yeah,
I see some copper here. Yeah. Oh, okay. Grab some White Claw.
What do we
got? A White Claw box. Yeah, we had folded that thing up.
You know, hey,
it's probably
comes
still
in handy
it's
sometimes.
probably
It's
still
probably
there.
still there.
No, I think he
if
fixed
it works,
it.
don't fix it.
He got a
we got a radiator hose.
Yeah,
because we went to the auto parts store a couple times.
Yeah. So
that's great. I mean, we were out there. Well, it's probably a 20-mile trail, right?
I don't think it was that long.
I don't think it was that
10
long.
miles?
Maybe.
Well, maybe all the way. So from like road to road,
But
maybe.
we were solidly 2/3 of the way through it, and we just had this dead full size that none of us could drag out of there.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that
And
wasn't
it could have
happening.
been so bad, and it was just like, oh look, your wire's rubbing.
Yeah.
Like we got so
We
lucky
just
that
pulled it
time.
away and it somehow fired.
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll take it.
That razor, you saw Matt's off road came in to get
He
that.
came back
razor.
after it.
Oh, he did. The one that we
so
saw at the
I saw
right
the
at the
episode.
bottom.
So we
I saw the
razor
episode
down
Yeah.
there, and then we actually saw his truck on the flatbed
When
towing
after
through town.
Yeah, when we were headed
coming
back
in.
home, like once we got
I
back on
missed
the
that.
road,
Are
he
you guys
went
all-
by. I was like, yo.
Yeah, kids were stoked.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
his
totally missed that.
episode, he drove that big wrecker.
It was the
in
same
there.
one, right?
And yeah, he hooked up to it and he climbed that crazy
Dude,
hill.
that
his
was-
wife, I think it was, actually driving up it.
That was steep.
It was steep. He made it look no problem. He actually climbed it on foot while his wife was driving, so it wasn't that bad.
That was steep. I was like, I hope we're not going back up that. It would have been fine. It's
Probably.
Crawling up it.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, we would have needed him to get Steve out of there.
yeah. Nah, I mean, at that point, I think through the falls, I don't think the trail was that nasty after that. Honestly, if we went
Yeah.
back the same way, yeah.
It
But-
opened up a little bit. That swimming hole was great though.
Yeah, oh, that lunch spot was rad. So that was before he broke though.
That was
So-
that was
No, that
after
was
he
after.
broke. That was after he
Yeah,
broke.
because it was.
No, the swimming hole, no, because that was after we broke for lunch. Because the rest of the group went to the Toker Falls. When it was just us, and we were there fixing it with a White Claw box. The rest of the group had gone to the waterfall.
Right, but that was before we stopped at that like swimming hole that we like stretched the.
No, that was
can't
after because he diffed out before the swimming hole for lunch. And by the way, it doesn't really matter. But how about the swimming hole for lunch is like this. There's the creek is running down. There's like this little slot canyon that the creek had formed, and then it opens up and it's like. How wide would you say that was? Like 100 feet wide, the canyon,
Yeah.
and the water's flowing down the entire thing. That's like an inch
Just a
deep.
big old
It
rock
was so
slab
rad.
on
It was
the
so
floor of the
rad.
canyon. Right
Yeah, and
there.
so-
You're basically like the trail drives up the like waterfall, essentially like up and around the swim hole.
Yeah, and so we had we have those sight shades, and I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to pull up like one truck on one side, one truck on the other side. And so I drive up, and Chuck's kind of guiding me through, and he had told me, he's like, hey, like, be careful, this is deep. And I was like, okay. And so I cruised right through, and it was probably, a foot deep, not bad. Scott goes in on the other side of the swimming hole, and he just submerges on
Just
like a full
I'm
35
driving,
just
no
gone.
one's waving their hands and be like, you shouldn't be driving there, and boom, I'm like falling into the hole.
Luckily, you just drove right out of it. You probably should drink
Well,
the axle, though.
I probably should. I literally like tried to go backwards, and Chuck's just looking at me. He's laughing. He's like, "You should probably just go forward at this point."
Yeah.
Of course, I drove right out of it. He was right. It
Yeah.
was like,
But that was pretty deep. But yeah, it was cool. Like the little shade over the thing, and the kids are
nice.
swimming, and
Yeah. Metcho's wife warned me about that one. He goes, yeah, okay. It's deep, right? All of a sudden it's up to here.
Was it really?
Holy cow, you're right.
so
That was fun.
all the kids were like talking about is you're in this little hole, basically there's like kind of a little, I don't know what you want to call it, like a little cliff up above on both sides, and you're in this little slot like swimming, and they're like my kid was like, oh, can we jump off that? I'm like, no, dude, it's like this deep, it's like 5 feet deep. No, you can't jump 10 feet into it. And so we're there having lunch, and some other kid that wasn't with us jumped off, and he was like, luckily he was okay. It was like, that's how you break your legs, dude.
So we did find a spot that was probably 5 feet deep or so. So my
Okay.
son was jumping off on one side.
On at
in
that
little
spot?
slot, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
But then we came back out a little ways, and yeah, I was standing,
Yeah.
probably 4 feet deep, And this guy, full-grown guy's up there, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's okay. I've done this before." And he jumps off. And he just basically sits on the water, and I don't know if he went under or not. It was like,
jeez.
oh,
Okay.
that's sketchy.
I didn't know
Dang,
people were
dude.
jumping in that little
Yeah,
section right
there was
there.
a couple spots where it was deep enough, but it was still.
Yeah, but I didn't even see it happen, but I heard like, yeah, little Billy just jumped. Like, is he okay? Yeah.
That's sketch.
Yeah. But so anyway, so Wally has his little snafu there. We fix it with the White Claw box and then press onto the waterfall. The waterfall's rad, but everyone and their mom was there because it's Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, it's like I've never seen it that busy.
That was,
right?
there was a
It's
whole
like-
encampment in the river.
Yeah.
And they just had, they had their sight shades up. Too.
Yeah.
They had quite a few easy ups.
Yep.
And music blaring and.
Yeah.
And then the overland group that was camped over here, they had their pop-up tents going.
And it's like I don't want to be that guy. I think I'm just getting old, but I'm like, just why? Why do you got to do that? Like, go do that by where your truck's parked.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess it's 95 degrees and everybody just wants to hang out.
So how do we get them back? We parked right in the middle of all of them.
Yeah.
This way. Like we parked in a couple guys.
There was no parking. The one dude I parked right behind, I was like, hey, is it cool if I park here? Like, he's like, yeah. It's like, okay, I just pulled up. So,
Hope they don't go anywhere.
yeah, so...
I mean, I'm glad we went and checked it out, though.
Yeah.
Because that was definitely
That's
like
awesome.
a place where I've always wanted to go see. Ever since I saw it on Instagram, like, years and years ago. I was
Sure.
like, oh, I want to go check this out.
Definitely. And that was another spot that the kids were jumping in at. That was pretty cool. It was like a little
the
10
first,
footer.
the classic Tokerville is just kind of that like
Right.
rain coming down.
But I've
on that
never
rock.
seen the bottom
I've
ledge
never seen that
before,
either,
right?
Yeah. And that was probably 15-foot drop.
That was
down
a
to
good.
the
That was a
bottom.
good little jump.
And it was deep. So yeah, my youngest son was cliff jumping off of that
Sending
thing.
it.
The wild guy.
Yeah, he's adventurous.
He's a savage, dude.
Yeah.
Raising them right.
Yeah.
Anyways, we cruise out of there. I mean, it was pretty uneventful. Just basically a fire road that we kind of rode the
Yeah,
ridge
so we
line.
like came in the back way, I guess,
we came in
right?
the
So it's like most
adventurous
people
way.
come in the easy way. We went out.
Yeah, there's stock Silverado coming in. There's some Subaru cross tracks.
Sure. And then back to the Airbnb, hung out.
It
I
started
think.
raining on us.
Did
Lightning coming down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
you're
right.
You're right.
We were going through town. It was
Yeah.
getting a little spicy.
But it was fairly uneventful. That was when you guys saw Mounts Off Road.
Yeah.
And then next morning, you guys all went and ran the trail to the top of the
forget
world.
the trail. Yeah, there was a trail that Chuck took us on, which was, I don't know, 4 or 5. It was like a good kind of
Was it
mellow
Fallen?
Maybe. Yeah, then maybe. But anyway, it was pretty cool. Like there were a couple good ledges to crawl up.
That little
and then,
offshoot that we did?
And then we did an offshoot that was kind of like an obstacle. You could kind of like pick how difficult you wanted to make it, kind of thing.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
the one. All right, so
Yeah.
this trail was a sandy valley
Yeah, it was like a
with
sand
boulders
wedge or notch.
buried
Yeah.
in it, and I was following behind behind Steve in the Bronco. And that thing, big old body, just trying to climb these rocks. He's getting just inches from like
Sure.
a rock
Sure.
spear coming out.
And that thing's clean. Like
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Is
it was clean.
But what? He's on 37s. He's sitting pretty tall.
no, I
though.
think he's only on 35s.
No, it's 37s.
I don't
He's
think
got to
so.
be.
I think
Really?
I'm pretty confident.
Got
But
big shocks.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Right?
But, yeah,
But he
was-
ended up getting body damage, I think, on the river trail, on the
Yeah, on his
the
back
snake
quarter,
trail.
his back
Yeah.
driver quarter.
Yeah.
But that thing, watching that thing kind of, because it's a sandy trail, so the bottom is a V, so you're either got one tire in it or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he's trying to miss this rock and just like smash into this bush, and like some of the climbs were probably 4 feet. I mean, they were just up and dragging.
They were
bumper
good little
as you-
waterfalls.
As you
Yeah.
get up it, like, it was a challenging little trail for a full size like that.
Sure. And then how'd it go on 33s? Fine?
Yeah, 33s are fine.
That thing does really well for what it
that
is.
Jeep does very well. It's like it was designed.
You have a
for
long arm
everything.
kit on it though, right?
Yeah, long
Okay.
arm, like 4
So
inch
the
width.
geometry on that helps with your suspension.
Yeah. So I was just the only worry of it is I don't have rock sliders like on the sides, and so every
God,
time.
if only you knew a guy that could build something like that. You're cutting sequoias in half.
no, not gonna build that thing. Your minimal repairs, that's
You
it.
refuse to be a Jeep guy over here, yet he's been a Jeep guy for 4 years,
you will
3
not-
years, something like that.
Risking caving in the door panel, but you're like, no, I will not spend 3 hours and build sliders.
No, definitely not. But yes, it was capable and it was fun. But yeah, we ended up at the top of the world. Actually,
Yeah, I really wanted to go to Top of the World and just check that out and really kind of get like a perspective and view of kind of all of like Hurricane and Sand Hollow. You know, you could see the Arizona
Yeah, you can see
from
the
there,
Arizona.
which was really cool. You know, and
Sure.
That's really where I got really bummed out that we didn't camp. Because it was like, you could look down to like the dino tracks.
Yeah, I wanted to go
area,
down there, yeah.
And it's like all these places we could have just kind of gone out for a half hour and come back. And it's like, oh. So I think we're going back.
Yeah. Oh, we got to go back. 100%.
That place was great. You got
100%.
Yeah. From there we took off. I think we split. Majority.
Well, so typical like my Ty and I were like,
what's over there?
what's over there? Because we're like up at the top of the world, right? You're like, wow, that looks like a really cool cliff we could go drive to the edge of. Wow, that looks like some really good bouldering. Like, and we just kept getting farther and farther away, right? We like ended up way out there. Ended up at the Flintstone house,
The Flintstone house.
Yeah, we
We had
randomly
one out
found it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We were like, we think it's around here somewhere, and we turned around and we're like, oh, there it is. You
The
know?
sign says Flintstone House, which is great because you were complaining about the heat. Almost getting
Yeah, I was like, I need to sit in the shade for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, I'm kind of
So
burning
this is
out.
a literal house. The thing's probably 4 feet tall. It's got pillars for windows, an open pillar for the door, and you
There was
walk
like a
in
slight
there.
breeze. It was literally like
was
15
awesome.
degrees cooler in the.
And
Wow.
just having lunch in there.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Yeah. And then we got sandy trails all the way back.
And what's the deal with the Flint? Was it like, did they
They
film
just call it that.
They call it that because it looks like
It's
a
literally a
house
Flintstone
from the
house.
Flintstones,
Yeah.
like kind of era.
But
rock
it's-
columns with a rock ceiling.
It's like a
somebody
dome.
built it?
No.
No,
Oh,
it's
it's
natural.
natural. Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fully natural. Like some indigenous Indians were like used to have a campfire and probably smoke peyote or something in there, right? Like,
Wow.
It's crazy. I didn't think it was nearly because I saw a Matthew stop by there one time. It's like there's no way, but yeah, little columns, little windows, a roof over it. One of the columns goes to the floor.
it was
with a
super
little
cool. Like you
doorway.
could
It's a house.
seriously,
Wow.
live in it.
I'll have
Like
to
it
scope
was
this
like you
out.
could camp out in that.
Can't stand up.
Yeah, so
there.
I missed this because I went to Zion with the family.
No.
Wife
Oh,
wanted to
yeah,
go
yeah.
to. She wanted to
Well,
go
I
down
mean,
to, which is not a terrible
It's
place
not
to go.
a terrible place to go either.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah, so that was basically we got up like the butt crack of dawn and hit the road and caught the sunrise on the way out there. We were trying to beat Labor Day traffic, and so we got in, drove up and back, and I don't know if I texted you guys or I don't think I got you on the radio, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna go meet him out there, and then Metro, he and his family had gone out to Zion also, and I was waiting for him to get back. And then I think it was like Ryan or somebody texted and was like, oh, we're on our way back. And you guys were out having fun. I could have met you, but I hung out in the air
we were so
conditioning.
deep, like back deep in the like, I don't know what you call it, the park or the OHV area or whatever. At that point, it was it would have been.
It would have been a quest.
Would've
In
been
the
a quest.
Forerunner?
Oh yeah, it would have
Things
been
a
a
covered
quest.
wagon.
It was a quest for us to just get back to the road.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
It was because like we got to go that way.
But so like when we got out of Milt's Mile, when we hit the dunes, would you basically just kind of hang a right into the dunes and keep
So the
going?
whole area, like Mills Miles or the chute, that's kind of halfway up, like the whole area there, and it's like a big old sandy drag, and at the very top of it is the top of the world.
Got
And
it.
then it's just a big bowl. Well, I didn't realize the bowl kind of oblonged out a little further where we went to, and it was a little ways back.
Yeah.
It's just fun exploring.
there was a whole like back 40, you could call it. You
Sure.
know, like that was just like I didn't even realize it was there until you went to top of the world. Right?
Yeah.
And saw it. So.
Well, and then so the plan was we were kind of go back. Everyone kind of met back at the house, and then we were going to go back out again for kind of like a sunset cruise.
Well, I think we'd been trying to do a night run all weekend, right?
Yeah.
So this was like our last day. This was Sunday.
We got stuck in the pool every night.
And I think we got stuck in the pool, right?
Lazy
hanging out.
river.
Yeah.
Pretty nice.
But I think at this time around, it was like, okay, we got to go for an evening
Sure.
stroll, right?
Yeah, so we ended up going. The plan was to do the chute, and then cruise to the top of the world, and I don't remember exactly what trail we were gonna run, but Chuck was leading the way. And
the howl too, right?
yeah, well, no, I brought it, but it was one of those things where it was so hot it was just like, I'm not even gonna fake trying to turn this thing on. I mean,
a lantern out there.
just for the ambiance, it would have been cool, but it was so, you know, basically I did bring it with us, but I just left it at the Airbnb because I'm like, it's 95 out, and it stayed hot there for till late. Yeah. But yeah, so we end up cruising. We leave the house. It was probably, I don't know, maybe like 6:37ish, and the plan was to go do the shoot. And we get there. We see we're watching the rock buggy. I don't know if those are rock bouncers or what would you call that? Like the moon buggies.
What's that guy's name? Because I'm
Matty J.
Matty J.
Yeah, just crazy. Watching those things just drive wherever they want. Like, I don't know, is that even fun? If you just are just like, I'm just gonna drive there and just
you look for harder and harder lines.
yeah, that's super cool.
Make your own trails at that point, right?
But yeah, so then we go up. We're headed to the shoot, and it's this soft,
straight up the dunes,
soft sandy climb, and we
the sand
make it
out
up.
there's just so dry, right?
Yeah,
it's just like so dry and fine.
100 degrees.
Right?
It's completely
And you, I don't know what was going on with your Forerunner, but you were, I don't know if it was you or the Forerunner or both.
It was me, probably.
Just had to throw your purse out the window, bud, and give her the sauce.
I mean, I was already okay. So we all start on that, right? And like somehow I was already in the back of the line, right? So everyone was just kind of slowly pulling away from me, right? And then I'm like trying to pin. I'm like, dude, this is getting harder and harder. The farther we go up this sand hill, right? And I'm like, dude, I've got to get moving more, right? Because I can already tell I'm not going to make it. So I'm like downshifting, trying to get doing the whole shebang. And I'm already down to 10 psi. I'm like, maybe a little bit more would have helped, but I'm just like, something's not right here. Because I'm used to like a supercharged 3.4. I'm like, I should have been blasting up this hill, right? I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I have this 22 RE now. It's like, okay. But I don't know, the wrong gearing or what, but it was like, I don't have a front locker, so that was the difference with you. To me, right? Maybe bigger tires. I don't know.
I don't have a rear locker.
But you got a V8. A V8 auto. Like, yeah. That
you don't 18.
Is that what you were at?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know what the hell
See, you needed it 1 psi lower, and you probably would have made it because I was at 9. I'm just saying. I don't know.
I think I was getting to the point where I was pretty tired at that point.
So us laying under the truck, I don't know if it was. I think it was after we left or before we left to go to the shoot. We were doing like a quick prep on all the trucks again, and you're just like, oh my god, this thing is needs some love. This is a little bit of a basket case. Like the steering's rubbing.
Like, I had never even laid under. Wait, no, I did. I spent one night till like midnight doing some prep on the truck before I left. Right, but that was like not really checking much out.
Yeah,
it's like if I don't look at it now. I won't scare myself before I drive 500 miles or whatever it is to Sand Hollow, right?
Ignorance
so I'm like, okay,
bliss.
so I just did the essentials, right? And then it was the last night, and I'm like, I should probably like crawl under this thing and do a nut and bolt check and like check it out. And that's when I'm just trying to start finding things that are,
I want to say like one of the leaf spring bolts was like completely wallowed out.
Dude, yeah.
But so
it still is, by the way.
So anyways, I think like you kind of reached a point where you're
mentally I was
you're thinking about like I got to drive this thing home tomorrow. Yeah. Another 200 and something miles.
Yeah, I think that's what was really kind of like at that point. It was like I'm like revving the crap out of this thing, trying to get up this hill. It's not making it. Like I'm just pushing it to like that. That was somebody was trying to tell me like just turn around and go home.
Yeah.
Right? At that point, I was like, okay.
So you basically
I hit my breaking point.
You needed a Snickers. When you're hungry.
Yes.
And so we got the call over the radio like I'm just going back, and I was just like, bro, you need me to come drag you? And I just knew I wasn't gonna push it. Because I could have heckled.
No, but Ryan was trying to be a good friend. He was coming back. He's like, dude, I'll tow you up or whatever. And like, I don't even have good tow points on the front of the truck. Like, it's just like I was like, I'm gonna call it.
So you go back to the house. So now it's Riley, Ryan, Chuck, Mai Tai, myself, and I think that
Metro was there.
And Metro.
Yeah.
And so we head to the shoot, and it's like getting dark. and was it Metro? And Chuck goes up, just drives right up like a boss.
And
he knows the line too,
the sun
right?
is setting. All the rocks are just this orange glow.
Sure.
Like it was just beautiful.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
And so you get to the shoot, and I mean, I've seen it on Instagram, YouTube, whatever, and it's steep. In person, you're like, oh, we're going up that? That looks gnarly. And then I'm watching Metro, he gets up, and it's kind of like, what would you say, like the 4 foot, 5 foot first kind of...
First little hit.
Hit, and then you're like on top of a little ledge, and then you're going up.
There's 2 dugouts on the top of that. Just tire size, but they're narrow.
Jeep size.
Jeep size, yeah. But that first little hit has a V notch in it.
Yeah.
Similar to the one that Metro was already in.
Yeah. So Metro goes up, and he's other than Chuck, he's the second victim, I guess you'd say, and he's just 3-wheeling, and it's like I'm nervous for him, and I think you were next in line, but I'm like, oh dude, this looks gnarly.
Yeah.
And so he tries 3 times?
He tried a lot. So he kept getting hung up on one side. He'd crawl out of that, and then the rear end starts sliding down into the ditch. And so I was like, whoa, into the V. And it was like, pull back, and then come back up again. And just 3 tires are just spinning on the rock, and he just could not make it.
Yeah, and he's got those. Are they creepy crawlies? What are those tires he's got there? I think are they old BFGs?
I think they're old crawlers. Yeah, the comp crawler, bias ply.
Yeah,
he pulls the valve stem out, and they don't air down. These are old. They're hard as a rock.
Yeah, so I don't know if that's the deal. But it was so. Anyways, he backs down, and then Riley in the.
He tried before you?
Yes, yeah, he was in front. Because it was one of those things where you're over to the side, and then he's there, and then I'm there, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go, because I just want to get it over with. I'm like, put this thing in double low, and I'm just going to send it. And
so I was actually lined up right after Chuck. I was driving behind Chuck. We come around the corner. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So I get out. I look over. The only other Grand Cherokee I saw that weekend was on the side. He's like, yeah, I just broke my front axle trying that. It's like, oh.
Yeah. You're like, oh.
So you didn't
I should rethink this. Yeah.
Let me back out of the way real quick.
Sure.
Watch a few people make it and, boost my confidence.
Yeah. That was not the case. So Riley goes up and just grenades a front CV. He almost made it though. He made it past the 2 little holes, and then I don't know, this front CV let go and he just slid back.
I think he said his foot slipped off the clutch.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Got it.
He's like, I didn't mean to hit it that hard.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
well, he did. He almost made it.
He went for it. I was like, damn. And then so now I'm up, and I'm like, shit. And so Mikey, your buddy, I was thinking he was just gonna film, and he rode out there with me. He's like, no, I want to ride. I'm like, all right,
go for it.
Let's go. And so we get in, and now it's basically dark. The wind has picked up, and we're just getting sandblasted. You just see the
There was
sand.
like a front coming in. When I was leaving, when I turned around, I was looking up there where you guys were heading. There was a little like thunderstorm front coming in.
Sure.
Yeah. But the wind was coming straight down the chute, down. I mean, there's probably 20, 30-foot rocks on both sides of us.
Sure.
And it's just this wind tunnel of sand and blowing out. I didn't even see you try it because it was just this wind coming at us.
Yeah.
It was dark.
No, note to self: add goggles in the truck. We need a full set, especially if I have half doors on, because it was just getting. I felt like I was in a side by side. But so I try, and I think I just was like falling into the holes, and it wouldn't climb, it wouldn't hook up.
Yeah, it seemed like you needed to grab another gear. I think you were trying too low.
Yeah.
So you start hopping instead of like actually plowing through it and driving.
Sure, and I think I tried it like 3 times, and I just kind of got into the like. I don't want to break anything. This is the last day of the trip. I mean, I was going home on a trailer, but I just was like.
And it's also, those holes were real narrow.
Yeah.
So you were falling into them. Like Chuck and Ryan, they were on the outside of that. They didn't even feel those holes.
Exactly.
It's like, all right.
And just driving, I will say, watching Metro and watching Riley versus being in the truck, I felt more comfortable in the truck, which is weird because most of the time you're watching someone else, you're like, oh, no big deal. Yeah. Watching them, I was like nervous for that, especially Metro with that Jeep. That thing's just tippy.
That looked like
wheelbase, man.
Wheelbase. Yeah, exactly. But being in it, it wasn't really that bad. You kind of just get tunnel vision, and then there's no line. It's not like you're over a foot or you're just You get in the notch and go, and then so
that was your problem. There was a line. You should have been.
Yeah.
You should have been more passive.
Apparently, the line is like a little bit to the right. So you kind of mitch one of the
go around the hole.
So right, exactly.
Because the hole on the left is kind of rounded off. Right. The hole on the right was kind of square edge.
I just wussed out. I'll just say it.
That's why we're going back.
Yeah, we got to go back. Yeah. But so, anyways, then you didn't go.
I didn't go.
Ryan goes and just drives right up, and I don't know if it was the Milestar tires, because both the Milestar dudes just drove right up.
Could have been.
But
I think it's his wheel.
It's just the width.
His width.
He
drove right around it and just crawled up the wall.
Yeah.
And he's been there before. I mean, come on.
But it's one.
It's definitely not the driver. I mean, it couldn't be the driver though.
Yeah. No. It was definitely operator. But yeah, I think you're right. As far as I think I was in too low of a gear, and that was one thing that I've like laid in bed thinking about, like maybe if I hit that, and I think I was in second double low. I was like, maybe if I hit that in third, or not even in double low, just left it in
first low.
But it's one of those things. It's easy to say after the fact, but when you've got 30 people or however many people are watching you,
you don't
it's
think
windy
about it at
and
the time, right?
Your blood's flowing. I don't know. I just figured
it was crazy. You're flexing. You're on 3 tires and just pulling, and it's like, go. You got this.
Yeah. So
I'll tell you to go.
But yeah, so then we, at that point after Ryan made it, we had all kind of gotten out of that canyon, and we couldn't. The easy exit is like, okay, the chute is there, and then if you don't make it, you just basically back up, turn left, and leave. Well, that Jeep that you talked about was hard parked.
Yeah, hard
and
parked.
so we had to back out of that canyon, and it was a mess. We
backed out straight into the dunes. We had to go up and around the dunes to get around there. Yeah. Riley's in 2-wheel drive at this point.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
So I was following him, and I was starting to get stuck, and he's getting stuck.
Yeah.
It was kind of tough getting out there.
Yeah, it was spicy. But so we ended up just bagging it because Chuck didn't even have a windshield in his truck, and he's like, they asked, they're like, you guys want to keep going? I'm like, no, this is you're the only one that was happy. You probably had your seat heaters on at that point.
Kids are like, yeah, our RC car still have battery. Let's go find another spot.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, sorry guys.
But yeah, it just got to the point where it was like, all right, it's time to go back and hang out. And then
I think it was the raindrops. I think that's what it was. That's what did you in.
It did rain.
It did rain a little bit. A little sprinkle.
Yeah. But overall, I mean, so we just packed it back in, and I mean, we just got to go back. That's the moral of the story. And you'll be there in your Sequoia.
Hope so. Yeah.
And this guy with his Forerunner,
more built,
yeah. Front locker.
Yeah.
You gonna keep it on leash?
It's already got upgrades.
Keep that covered wagon suspension.
No, I think I'll probably 3-link the front for sure at some point here, in the near future.
Yeah, because you made some
incremental
improvements with the shocks and.
Oh yeah, I mean, I mean, it's like it's been a month, and I've already moved the steering box forward so the high steer works properly, and rebuild all the shocks, and there's
Bobby's got that kit.
Basically, Bobby hooked it up with this little kind of steering box relocation.
Red or Dead, right?
Red or Dead fab, and so that was sick. Because Mecho mentioned it when we were on the trip, because my freaking pitman arm was just bottoming out on the drag link. And so I hit him up when I got back, and that kind of just catapulted into a bunch of stuff. I knew I had to rebuild the shocks already. What they're like Bilstein, I don't know, what are they, 7,000s or 9,000s or something? I don't know what series those are.
5100s?
No, they aren't 5100s, but yeah, they're better than that.
71.
The rebuildable ones with, anyways, so yeah, already into the upgrades, throwing out the upgrade, just kind of trying to touch everything. You know how it goes. You buy a new vehicle, you're trying to touch everything, right? You're trying to just get a sense of where it's at, what the kind of big things are that need to be done. I mean, the rear shock angles were all out of whack. They were so slanted they weren't even doing anything. So just kind of going through stuff.
Just work through it.
So but kind of got really good bones. I've trussed the axle armor, I've done a bunch of it's kind of got the front end to a point where it's okay, I'm comfortable with it now, right? It does what it needs to do now, and now now I gotta like kind of redo some of the fab on the rear. But, yeah.
But I can't believe you drove.
I can't believe it either.
You bought it. You got it on.
I bought it 3 days before, or 3 days before we were leaving for the trip.
Yeah.
Literally, it got delivered. I had to leave for the airport for work for like a quick kind of overnighter to the Bay Area for that night. So literally, like, parked it, put a cover on it on the street, right? Took off, like, got back the next day. I think that night I spent till like midnight, 1 in the morning, doing a bunch of like just random prep on it, trying to get it to a point where like, okay, I guess I'm gonna drive this thing.
So you're just trying to feel young again, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, I was reliving my youth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
get that sketchy car feeling again.
will I be doing it again? Something like that again anytime soon? No.
Why not?
So,
but that's the spice of life right there. Yeah. When you get into a vehicle and you're like, you know what? You start it and you're like,
well, it's only
I'm
been 4
not sure
weeks.
I'm gonna make it.
It's only been 4 weeks or 5 weeks since we did that. Ask me in another kind of 4, and then I might be ready. Right?
There's something magical about embarking on an adventure, and you're like, I don't know that this is gonna make it. I hope it does.
Especially Toyota.
Right?
They're so reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially you bought a truck off of Facebook Marketplace. You drove it.
I don't know.
500 miles?
I never
I
even
think it was more
actually.
than that.
I never actually looked at the mileage.
I want to say it was like 800 miles or something there back. But you also wheeled the crap out of this
Oh
thing.
yeah. I fully kind of put it through some paces on some stuff, just trying to figure out like, okay, what's it capable of, right? Like, okay, what can this thing do with just a rear locker and
Got stuck a couple times.
I did get stuck a couple times.
Almost rolled it on top of me. I had to hold it up.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't even close.
Dude, I'm like, get out! I'm yelling at you. I'm like, get out of there! I'm like, you're not gonna hold it up. I know you're tall, but get out of there.
No, it was.
I didn't even realize I was like, honestly. Well, so if I had not done all that driving on the Rubicon when we did it in your truck, I probably would have been freaking out at that point, right? But when I was there in that moment, it was like I felt completely comfortable. Like I felt like I wasn't going to be going over, even close to going over.
Yeah, you were right on the edge.
See,
it was getting tippy.
So I've totally figured it out. So if you've got an off-road truck, rock crawler, pre-run or whatever, and you want to get your buddy to get one, just let him drive. Let him drive for a bit. And it's I feel like it's tough with a pre-runner because it's like it's the same.
It is. You're going a lot faster, right?
I'm gonna equate this to an RC car. Like if I've got a brushless, let's just say slash RC car, thing hauls ass, and you're driving it on the street, and you got to worry about like, oh, you hit something, you're gonna break something off. Whereas I have a RC rock crawler, and I'm like, hey, Mai Tai, here you go, dude. Go have fun. It doesn't have enough power to kill it, you know, for the most part. Like if it's built
what are you
properly.
gonna break, right?
So like him driving the 4Runner. I mean, obviously I trust you to drive the pre-runner too, but anyways, you want your friend to get a truck, just let him drive it. That's genius.
I'm glad
it put me over the tipping point.
I'm sorry for your bank account.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just deleted it right before a trip too. I was like, I will tell you though, the best thing about driving it to and from was I still have money in my pocket for gas afterwards.
Yeah.
Which is great.
That would be nice.
Dude, those 22 REs, man.
I
literally topped off the gas tank near my house before I left.
Yeah.
I didn't fill up again until I got to Vegas, and I probably had a quarter tank left still.
Yeah, you never calculated it out?
No, I didn't.
It's just better if you don't look.
Hey, are you kidding me? I didn't need to calculate it out. The fact that I was able to drive from my house
You engineer
to
guys
Vegas
are like, you don't know the math?
without,
I don't math.
I don't want
Miles divided by gallons.
I don't want to know. Like my motorhome, you're like, what kind of miles does that get? I'm like, I
I
don't
was
even want
so
to look.
stoked on
I don't
that.
want to know.
I was just like,
But in closing, what do we do next year for our form trip, Labor
I don't know.
Day?
We got to figure that one out.
We're not
going
not
back to
Sand Hollow.
No,
For that.
I'm leaning towards Oregon Dunes.
Ooh, I like that idea.
It's a little cooler.
I'm
It's
down.
pine trees,
Yeah.
sand
I like
dunes.
that idea.
You've been to Idaho Dunes. It wasn't the greatest.
I've been to Oregon Dunes. I've never been to Idaho. I've been to.
No, you've been to Idaho Dunes. No, we've been to Winnemucca Dunes.
Winnemucca.
Yeah, that's still Nevada.
That would be a cool trip, but
there's Airbnbs since that's your thing now.
No.
I think Oregon Dunes would be pretty rad.
Yeah, so Oregon Dunes there's a little town up there. There are Airbnbs there.
I mean, I definitely think that the Airbnb it was cool for the temps and. It was I would say even for Sand Hollow again, I don't think that's a bad move, but it's definitely a different feel having not being camping. That's where it's at. I mean, obviously we've got
around the campfire, shit at night,
and at least we were all in the same house, so it was still we're kind of all hanging out, but it's not the same being in a.
It's not. It was real nice hanging out.
Yeah,
because it was just we're stuck together. We got to talk. It's not like you're right. If we're in the motorhomes, we'd be the individual motorhomes.
We all would have been hiding down in our AC.
Yeah, the kids might have been together doing something, or they might not have been.
But I think I go back to, so a lot of us with families, we've got our RVs or trailers or whatever, and that compared to tent camping, you tent camp, sun's up, you're out of the tent, and so then you're kind of naturally we did the Glamis trip I think in February or March, and we tent camped, and it's weird because it's the sun's out, you hear somebody rustling around outside, and you wake up and you're out there with them. Whereas if everybody's got their RVs, you don't come out until later on.
Well, our first run, what time we start? 10?
Yeah, if we were lucky.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, you mean at Sand Hollow? Yeah, because it's why? You've got everybody's, making coffee in the coffee bar. Where if you're camping, everybody's up at, 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock. It's just.
So, are you ready to take the kids camping though?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So January, we got a weekend the girls are in Arizona anyways.
Oh yeah.
We could head out there, do a little loop around that area.
Ooh.
With all the kids and no wives.
Out in Arizona.
Prescott, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. There's Skull Valley this way. There's I don't know what's on the east side of there, but
I think that's supposed to be a surprise. I don't think Nikki's gonna listen to this podcast. If he did, we're in trouble, bud.
I didn't know the surprise.
Metro, we gotta give Metro the warning. Don't be broadcasting this.
Not a single chance that she's made it this far in this babbling.
You just edit that out, right?
Yeah, I haven't edited any bits out of any podcast, but I'm gonna definitely
We're starting over. Hey, in January, let's take all the kids to Arizona. That'd be fun.
God, they'd be so mad if we just showed up. That'd be great. Let's do it.
Save on air flight.
Yeah. And what are we doing this in the rock crawlers or in the
Yeah, I would say that's a crawler.
You're gonna need to. You got 2 kids.
Yeah.
Fit 2 kids.
Yeah. One in a pelican cage.
There's supposed to be some decent trails in Sedona right there, right?
There is, yeah. The whole I was trying to map something out in there. There's a lot on the east side into there. The west side would kind of be Skull Valley. You can you can get we did that a while ago with Rouse and with James. He lives down in kind of north of Phoenix. We ended up down some awesome trails. Ended up in Laughlin. That's all kind of high speed stuff. But no, those low speed, you just go east, and there's a couple wilderness areas, couple national forests over there.
There's a bunch of stuff in between Phoenix and Prescott that kind of what is that highway there that goes up to Prescott? 17.
Interstate 17.
So it's whatever that canyon that you're kind of driving through. There's some trails.
Yeah, we did. When I went out to Overland Expo that one year before Tommy had his accident, we did a couple trails. We did this one trail through. I want to say Gold Point. I know it's not Gold Point, but there's some sweet trails that go up into Prescott from the backside or whatever, and then Sedona. It's just littered with stuff.
Probably hit some snow too. That'd be fun.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Some cold camping.
Sure. But yeah, so
we got options.
We'll have to figure it out. But Oregon Dunes could be cool for next Labor Day, and that's definitely going to be cool.
It'd be fun. It'd be a haul, but.
Well, yeah, but not. I mean, what?
It's 13 hours.
So what? So wait, what was it? What was it to the Cinders? It was a good 12 hours, wasn't it? To the Cinders?
That far. I want to say 8 or 9.
Oh, okay. On the way there it was 8 or 9. The way back because of the
God, yeah. That was a mess.
All right, and then so Sand Hollow was 8 or 9. Yeah.
Well, I'm down.
No,
whatever. It's what's another couple? What's 4 more hours?
It's definitely a bucket list. You know, it's another bucket list
That's what I
item.
was thinking.
You know?
Yeah.
But what do you bring? You bring the crawler or you bring the free runner?
I don't know.
You got to bring the crawler.
I'm gonna bring my dual overlander.
Oh,
vehicle.
you're that guy now.
That guy.
I've got, the no
Sequoia,
up travel.
big Sequoia guy over here.
It's got all the
I think
travel,
that's
travel.
probably a pre-runner location. I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't think there's really crawling
Get
there.
you some paddles though.
Right?
Yeah.
That's the one where you got these big long climbs up sandy hills, and all of a sudden you're just lined with these pine trees.
Yeah. Have you wheeled or done any dunes with the trees like that?
No.
Yeah. So it's like,
exciting?
yeah, you're like on a sandy trail and you're like, oh, cool. And then you look down and you're like, oh, there's basically a witch's eye with a pine tree in the middle.
Oh, awesome.
Don't go in there. Don't go that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Last year at the Cinders, Gort ended up against a tree.
Yeah.
He was on one of those cindery hills, and he just slid in and wrapped his front tire around a tree.
But I felt like the Cinders, I mean, although it looks like it has traction more so than a sand
It
dune.
drives like sand, but you have traction like dirt.
yeah, until you're on kind of that rolly. Kind
Yeah.
of blow cinder. I don't know what you call that stuff.
Yeah.
But it got soft in a couple spots.
That was another spot we got to go back.
Yeah.
But anyways, cool. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Yeah.
Thanks, dudes. Cheers.
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.